Oh, poop. Do we really have to talk about that today? Hey everybody, Seth here with Living Large and Tiny Living, and today we're going to talk about waste removal in a tiny house. So there's a couple of options about incinerating and composting toilets, but we're not going to discuss that today. We're just going to talk about black water tanks and RV style toilets. And the first thing that you can do with not having to get rid of the waste is just to not create the waste. There's a couple ways that you can do that. The biggest one is to use an actual RV toilet that doesn't have a tank on it, because if you use a standard house toilet that has a big tank on it, it's going to mean, one, that you're going to have to dump that every single time you move, because you don't want that water sloshing around. So that's going to add a couple of gallons to your black water tank. That means you're going to have to dump that tank sooner. Second, when you're using a standard house toilet, they use more water per flush than an RV toilet will, significantly more actually. So if you use a RV toilet, you're going to cut down on the water that's going into the tank. But that's the first thing that you can do. The second thing is actually having to deal with the waste removal. The easiest thing is to be next to either a septic tank or be in an RV park that has a connector, so that you can just go ahead and connect right on up to that and then not have to worry about it at all. That is the easiest thing. But not everybody's going to have access to that. So what do you do if you have a septic tank that you can use, but let's say it's a few hundred feet away, so you can't just run a hose directly to it? Well, there is an option, and it's a connector that will connect onto your black water tank. And it's kind of interesting because it'll put water into the tank via a water hose. It'll grind up all the contents of the black water tank, and then it will send that through another hose into the septic tank. So it can, I think some of them do have a few 100-foot range and can go uphill a little bit. So it is a pretty good option if you need something to get sewage to a septic tank, but you're not next to a septic tank. Another option is if you don't have a septic tank around, you're going to have to go dump it somewhere. So you're either going to have to get a tank that will allow you to transport it, so you can just hook that up to your tiny house and then take that, put it in the back of your truck, and then go dump that. Or probably more inconvenient would be actually hooking up to your tiny house, taking your tiny house to a location to dump it. And there's lots of locations that you can actually use. Sporting goods stores, outdoor stores often have a place for RV dumping that's free. Some gas stations have them as well. RV parks, parks in general, will have somewhere that you can dump it. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's $5 or $10 or $20. Just depends on where you're going to. But that's probably the most inconvenient of the options. But let's say that you're not next to a septic tank. You can't get your transport tank to the place because your car's broken down, and you can't move your tiny house either because something is wrong with it. There is still another option, and this is going to be the most expensive of the options and probably the last option that you want to use. But if you're in that situation and it's your only choice, then that's what you're going to have to do. But you can call out a waste removal service, and the service will come out and drain the tank and then take it off. And so it's going to cost a lot to get them to come out and then drain it and all of that. But if that's your only option, then it's probably a pretty good option instead of having your black water tank overflowing. Well, that's about it as far as options go. In one, reducing the amount of waste by switching to an RV toilet over a standard house toilet, and two, just dumping that waste when the black water tank fills up. So I hope that got you thinking about what you're going to want to do in your tiny house, or maybe some ways that you can change up your tiny house if you've already got one built. I hope you have a great week, and I will catch you on the next video.